morning. I swear a lot.
Hello friends, and welcome back to Limbus Company, welcome back to the LCB checkup. So, those ones I didn't manage to EX, I f***ing did them, and the funny thing is, as I suspected, different people struggled with different ones depending on the kind of IDs they had for each individual sinner. Because I heard someone struggle with, this one. Or either they or their friend, I don't know who. Doesn't even matter, the point is someone did struggle with that, but I got through stinging super easily. However, I got the EX on sinking on purpose, like the next try. Like that wasn't difficult. Absolutely did that, no problem. Directionless sloth fucked me up for the longest time. Because the IDs I had for Merceau, Gregor, and Faust, A, didn't really work together, and B, just didn't do the right damage types. Like, yeah, I had Blunt to get rid of the first two waves, but the third wave requires, I'm pretty sure, definitely Gloom. No, not Story. Gloom and Gluttony. No, I didn't really have those IDs leveled up, right? What I ended up doing is I ended up borrowing Ardor Blossom Faust from someone, because I tried this like upwards of 10 times and I just could not put out competitive damage. It just weren't happening. So instead I just borrowed Ardor Blossom Faust, equipped Lure, Merceau, and Gregor, and went with there, which was hilarious because all of those IDs use high amounts of sloth. So like the sin attributes were wrong, but I was banking on burn and the pure absurd amount of damage that Ardor Blossom Moth Faust can put out under the right circumstances. Like, that was tough. And I honestly invested a lot of resources into it, and it wasn't fucking worth it. Like, all of the XP vouchers I saved up for Kurakumo, I spent trying to get Directionless Sloth done, and it was completely unnecessary. But I saw a challenge, and I wanted to fucking do it, so I did. But aside from that, we move on. Oh, one more thing. I wanted to say this out loud, not because I think any of you need to know, but because I want to say it to myself in order to internalize it. Guard and evade can be offset by any defensive skill, but counter cannot be offset. Unless, you stagger them before they get to do their counter. It's annoying that hasn't stuck in my head, but I'm saying it out loud now so that not only have I said it out loud, but I'll come back and edit this later, and I will hear myself say it, and hopefully that will internalize it. Doubtful, but who knows. The hierarchy, let's move on, shall we? I'd like to get this done today, if possible. Well, now that's over and done with, I would like the sinners to come gather around here. I don't know if the music is bugged out again. If it has, I'll sort it out in post. If not, then I won't have to. Hohenheim placed the sinners in a single file before him and began. Now the regular checkup is complete. You can all go home. We finally have enough data to compare your pre-employment statuses to those of your current selves, and the results are going to be very upsetting, aren't they? Which means... Indeed, we were able to measure your pre-employment combat capabilities as well. Oh! And what are your conclusions? Allow me to preface this by saying that there isn't much significance in establishing this particular hierarchy of power on a linear scale. Like I said, you're all equally mediocre at the present anyway, and... Oh, there's plenty of significance, alright. We've got to know who's the big boss, and it's me. While this is but a speculation of the worst-case scenario, we must know which one of us has the most right and authority to lead the rest of the sinners in case our executive manager becomes, due to some unknown yet inexorable circumstances, unavailable. Who will be the Otis of the group if Dante is unavailable? It should probably be Otis, yes? Hey, I don't listen to anyone weaker than me. Which is funny because Ryoshi doesn't listen to anyone, so that shows where her opinion lies. What if that was the reason I was the first one asked to introduce himself? Maybe because I'm super strong. There was a burgeoning interest among the sinners to see which one of them would be at the apex of this scale, were they to be measured by their strengths prior to their employment. Thinking about it, looking at the evidence, and assessing it as such, I think narratively, they're going to make a bit of a joke out of it, and they're going to say, we were actually wrong, and the strongest person is Sinclair. And then everyone will freak out, right? But looking at it a bit more realistically, I think it's going to be between Ishmael, Ryoshu, and Don Quixote. Far as I'm concerned, their past experiences line them up to be the stronger characters. It isn't to say the other characters aren't strong. Gregor fought in a war. I don't know what the fuck Merceau did, but he's absolutely massive. Heathcliff was in a syndicate. If any of them turned out to be the strongest, I'd be like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. And if Sinclair does, then I think that'd be very funny. But I'm placing my bet on one of those three. Either Ishmael, Ryoshu, or Don Quixote. They might disqualify Don Quixote because they're like, look, she used to be a fucking blood fiend, so it doesn't really count. But that's where I'm sat right now. Hey, maybe before I lost my memories, even I. Dante, don't. Maybe I used to be a fighter. Maybe I was really strong. You don't know. Don't squash my dreams. It is interesting how every collective has a desire to get the clear picture of the pecking order. Pecking order. A negative expression of this desire may even lead to juvenile behaviors among children. For example, stealing their colleagues' lunches for meager reasons such as scoring higher than they did on a test. Damn, Hohenheim, that sounds like it happened to you. You're not speaking from personal experience, are you? Thus, I believe that trying to conceal the outcome of the test from you would be quite meaningless. Each of your placements in that line you are standing in signifies that very order you are so curious to know. I do not wish to waste any more breath on this subject. There was a long, long silence. Then the sinners all simultaneously turns to look at the person standing in the frontmost position of the line. Yi Sang was the strongest! Really? My boy! Are you sure? He was just a pencil-pushing nerd scientist, but he was the strongest? This has to be the longest, most awkward, most loaded silence I've ever felt in my life. Yeah, my boy! There's a reason they gave us Blade Lineage Yi Sang straight away, and why that identity was such a fucking weapon. And that's because my boy Yi Sang is a fucking weapon. Oh, buddy, I could just hug you. Well, yes. Ironically, of course, I see what they're doing. It's the one sinner who could not care less. Who truly does not care. Much did I wish to hold shrouded in my fathoms, yet I yearned still to convey that we are all more than meets the eye. Would have never have guessed, not in a million fucking years. Yet there remains a certain abundance within my heart. Perhaps the tests of this day paint a picture of both of my qualities. Thus spoke I, Yi Sang. I love him so much. What a fucking hero. Yi Sang. Oh no, it's gonna turn out it's actually reverse order. And he's actually at the back. He's actually the weakest. I will place trust in the faith that all of you shall one day sprout wings as I have. Yi Sang, it's the other way around. No! He was a pencil-pushing, researching nerd. He was the weakest. No! They gave him the Blade Lineage ID as compensation for how weak he is. Ah yes, the line was made from my point of view. That's not a very helpful thing to say. From here, the sinner wielding that oversized lance is the one at the front of this line. Well, yeah, that's a given. She's a fucking blood fiend. Ah, Yi Sang. I mean, he barely did any combat before Limbus, did he? Like, he literally walked out of N-Corp, walked, and then Faust picked him up. I don't think he had any real combat experience, did he? He wasn't a fixer or anything. He worked a cushy architect's job for T-Corp, and he was a researcher and inventor, which are all fantastic skills, but not combat skills. Well, you said some cool words, though. We got this, right? Yi Sang? Oh, well, 'tis quite a bashful occasion to be the center of such fervent attention of one such company. I wouldn't say fervent is the right word. Worried, maybe? I shall be vigilant. No one seemed to have any objections or doubts about who the strongest sinner was, given the earlier event. I mean, yeah. On second thought, it appears that it would be best if we left the command to Ishmael, as we've done so far. Yeah, why not? Otis mumbled through gritted teeth. I wouldn't give it to Don Quixote. Like, I love her pieces, but I wouldn't. Forsooth, I am in agreement. I am more partial to roles as defending fixer or esquire. 'Tis oft the case that such side characters enjoyed greater popularity since time immemorial. It's true. Very happy to see discussion not coming to blows. Now are we all ready to move on from this? Wait a minute. Aren't we all forgetting something pretty important? That's just how the world works, Greg. No one remembers anyone between the first place and the last place. I even forgot my own placement in the order. If I'm not first, I don't care. No, I mean, Fellas, I wasn't even a part of the list. What does that mean? Oh, were you not? Who cares, mate? There's 12 of us. Some people just fall out of the radar. Big deal. Let's just get on with it. Hey, you can't disregard me like swatting away a flight. I'd guess somewhere around my level, probably. Or Heathcliff's. I mean, really, the pecking order in this regard would be, I imagine, rated from most to least level of combat experience. The exception, of course, is Don Quixote. Not just because she probably has way more combat experience than the rest of them during her time as Sancho, you know, fighting in the Bloodfiend Wars, but also her natural advantages as a second kindred Bloodfiend, you know, that makes sense. Outside of that, it would be levels of combat experience. Gregor's been in a war, Heathcliff was in a syndicate, Ishmael was on the Peckod and worked multiple fixer jobs. I would assume, and, you know, Otis fought in a war, presumably, or an Odyssey, or both. Whatever. Point is, I would imagine Otis or Ishmael would be around second place. I'm guessing Ishmael is in second place behind Don Quixote, roughly. I don't know, but it's weird that Gregor's not on the list. Ishmael replied in a voice that had clearly lost all interest in this discussion. Ah, you're the sinner with that bizarre insectoid arm. Yeah, thanks for pointing it out. We had no choice but to place you in the least favorite category of all researchers. Why? Exceptions. Ugh. Ugh. They really hate that, huh? In other words, you are a unique case that cannot well be placed in a list or scale. To do so would be irresponsible. I'd say you carry a certain potential. Wow, how generous. That, potential, is it? Does that mean I could also be first place if all goes well? Are you saying you could match up to a fucking second kindred Bloodfiend? It could very well be the reverse, given the definition of potential. You could be worse than Yisang. Let not this query harrow your mind, Gregor. Your day will come. You smug bastard. Feels funny getting consoled by the guy who placed last. Okay, well, the music's bugging out pretty regularly. Project Moon, you now owe me 2,000 lunacy for the bugged music. All right, I'll take 40. You drive a hard bargain, but all right, 40 lunacy, you got it. No problem. Maybe music work now? After some time passed. Yay! Good stuff. Next, we must discuss the classification numbers. We have been assigning risk levels for distortions just as we have for abnormalities. The observation logs you have written for us were of great help, of course, if only Dante had bothered to read them. And by Dante, I mean Foreman. My researchers struggled to pass the handwriting of certain sinners, however, but it was good data all the same. We once had a 3-hour debate over a letter. Even that bloody governess gave up on trying to fix my handwriting. Heathcliff grinned proudly and wiped the side of his nose. As you must all be well aware, the current system of classification numbers has a rather significant oversight. Because abnormalities were creations of the former L-Corp, our classification system had to be lifted whole from their system. But of course, LogCorp's system wasn't really designed for distortions or bacaculum, was it? It was just made for abnormalities. However, the criteria by which the former L-Corp measured the risk levels was the amount of their energy production. Yeah, that's also that's actually the main factor, really. As a correlation of sorts, it was often the case that the more aggressive abnormalities produced more energy, but their destructive capabilities were not a part of the criteria, despite the correlation. That is why certain abnormalities were assigned relatively lower risk levels, despite their potential to kill even multiple higher-ranking employees. Note the Lantern, who was like, what, a Teth? I think it was a Teth, and could insta-kill an employee wearing Aleph gear. Like, no problem. They were an energy company at the end of the day. It makes sense that their priority would be to measure the energy output. However, here, both abnormalities and distortions must be suppressed via direct confrontation, thus the former L-Corp's classification system is rather incongruent with our purposes. I once heard someone say that we should be wary of people who drone on and on in the intro. Thus, it became necessary for us to reorganize the distortion's risk levels and classification codes. Wow, how interesting. So whose job is that going to be? I am rather taken back by the naivete with which you asked me that question. Us. It's us. Sinners without the right to refuse, was it? Wait a sec, aren't you just offloading your own work onto us? A privilege given to researchers. Oi, 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 don't be so ignorant, yeah? This is all just to, in order to research the distortions, right? We got, The other way around, assistant. Oh, we've got to do research into distortions in order to solve them better. It's elementary shite. Hohenheim's really got you wrapped around his finger, you know that? I know Hohenheim's just manipulating Heathcliff here through very basic, like, oh, I made you special, now you're on my side. Especially since Heathcliff probably would have been the most vocally opposed. But I like this dynamic. I like the Heathcliff-Hohenheim dynamic. It's very fun. According to the LCD on-site investigative reasoning team leader, the progression of a distortion is much like that of a disease. That's a really hard series of words to say one after the other. The fate of an abnormality awaits at the end of the distortion phenomenon, after all. When a distortion progresses into an abnormality, all pre-existing individuality is erased, replaced with the totality of an abnormality. Thus, it is impossible to bring back a distortion that has already transformed into an abnormality. It will no longer have that reversibility that they once had in the distortion phase. So, a distortion like that Time Ripper fella will eventually become an abnormality too, if left untouched? If you're referring to the subject HE7PI2001, then yes. He was a HE, huh. This is simply a prediction, of course, because that particular subject isn't contained here. I cannot say with absolute certainty that his progression into an abnormality will be observed. Didn't we kill him? I feel like we killed him. I guess we didn't? A correct assessment. Oh, didn't Limbus Company collect the Time Ripper? Did we just leave him there? We hoped we would, but T-Corp was very adamant about their claim over the entity, to the point where they refused to even sit at the negotiation table. I found their time-ripping ability quite fascinating, but sometimes I must know when to cut my losses, I suppose. Okay, so T-Corp took him, fair enough. Wait, so that HE something is the new classification code format? Indeed, because it is difficult to identify and observe the origin and the shape of a distortion, we decided to forego that information and instead replace them with their sin affinities and the expected damage scale. Sin affinities PI must refer to Pigretia, sloth. Because Time Ripper was very yellow. I suppose. It appears that the classification now mimics the classification of the Picatula. They do indeed follow the same thought process, if we're being technical here. I wouldn't say it mimics it. It would be more accurate to say that, as the Picatula are at once the origins of the distortion phenomena and its byproducts, the affinities can be transferred one-to-one. That seems like a surprisingly lazy way to do it from a researcher's perspective, but that's why I'm not a researcher, isn't it? What's the expected damage scale? Combat capability, I'm guessing. I remember them saying that the risk levels were determined based on the enkephalin production rates, which is not the most meaningful information to us who have to fight them directly. It was a tad inconvenient to put a nebulous idea like combat capabilities into a singular numerical scale of power. Certain entities have idiosyncrasies and variables that may make such a linear measure quite meaningless. Indeed, a lot of the more dangerous abnormalities didn't even fight. Like, let's take Lantern, for example. Lantern didn't fight, Lantern, like, hunted. It laid a trap, and then bit you. Exuvier, or whatever that... Exuvier is the name of the gear. I can't remember the name of the abnormality it came from. Not a fighter. That's a disease spreader. And possibly one of the most devastating abnormalities, potentially. Due to that reason. The old lady doesn't fight. She just kind of corrupts, as it were. Yin and Yang don't really fight. They just exist. And then smoosh together and make a dragon. How do you rate them in that regard? Combat capability isn't quite fitting, is it? Though I do believe that under the new system, I'm pretty sure nothing there is staying right the fuck where it was, because holy shit. So instead, we decided to measure the expected amount of damage that Limbus Company personnel might suffer should they engage these entities in battle. While this Time Ripper poses very little threat against the sinners due to idiosyncrasies, the unique nature of their weapon means they can immediately deal a nigh-fatal blow to anyone from the LCC department with a single strike, which would make them quite dangerous, yes. That is why this distortion was given a rather high expected damage scale of 6 from a scale of 1 to 10. Please do note that this is not a perfect system and these values are only there as references. Will this standard be applied to abnormalities as well? We have plans to do so, yes. Risk levels and expected damage scales will be coming before their classification codes. Speaking of which, I have something to show you all. What is it? What else other than the monolith? One with the highest potential values among Limbus Company's businesses. We get to stare at the monolith! Oh boy! Thus, the development of transportation management and processing methodologies of the monolith is a glowing achievement indeed. The artifact by its very nature poses a great danger. I hesitate to embrace its use so willingly. A great danger, but wouldn't you say that we are beset by danger at all times? So what's one more, am I right? If you're at war with 10 people, why not be at war with 11 people? Fuck it. You're already in danger, what does it matter? The arbitrariness in deciding how dangerous something is comes from the degree to which it poses a risk. As you must already know, the monolith here is a device that can force a distortion, which is a massive risk, but I guess we're just going to go with that anyway. It is scattered throughout the city, just like the Golden Bough, at first only in possession of the Fingers and the syndicates of the backstreets, to now being collected by companies both large and small and nameless, like a plague. We also learned that they have become rather high priority targets for some wings out there. For purely innocuous reasons, I'm sure. As luck would have it, we managed to begin our research, expedition, and collection of the monoliths much earlier than the others. Now we are already at the stage in which we may partake in the processing and sales of these artifacts, expanding our business ventures. Good! We're selling distortions. Not literally the distortions themselves, but the ability to make distortions. We're selling distortion production. That seems fine. You could say that we narrowly avoided the very unsavory fate of having to tussle with the wings for the possession of these artifacts. Yeah, true. What if we did collect all the artifacts? Do you think we're going to get to keep them? I doubt it. Because we may have had to confront the wings directly were that the case. Asking out of pure curiosity here, but what would happen if we were ever assigned a city threat level? Then suddenly the game would become Library of Limbus 2 if you catch my cold. Ishi, how about we don't ask questions we don't ever want to find out the answers to? I mean, what if we, due to some contractual shenanigans, end up going against the associations? I think it'd be a good thing to know ahead of time, just in case. Also, if he turns around and goes, this was literally be the worst thing that could ever happen to the company, then we know to avoid that conflict at any cost. Where if he's like, fuck it, we'll deal with it, it's like, okay then, if an association member is getting in our way, pile drive them. But this knowledge actually is important for establishing context when dealing with associations. Association fixers do not have hearts of gold. They are just as corrupt as anyone else. We might need to deal with some. Seems like a question worth entertaining to me. Let's see, from Canards to Star of the City, I suppose your assignment will be somewhere between Urban Plague and Urban Nightmare. We're pretty high rank, to be honest. Not SOC yet, are we? You think we're a Star of the City? No, Ryoshi does not think we're a Star of the Sea. Surely not. Not Star of the City yet, are we? It almost sounds as if you want to be given a threat level. It is true that you, upon first sight, due to your revival powers and the potential of the identity technology, may appear to pose a rather troublesome risk. However, you have a very clear and obvious weakness called Dante. As much as we love them. Indeed, all of our advantages will be moot upon the manager's death, which has almost happened quite a few times now. Hohenheim slowly turns around to look at me, prompting Faust and the other sinners to follow suit. It's rather uncomfortable. What if we protected them, though? Yeah, but there's an issue, Sinclair, right? And it actually ties in very conveniently with an identity we got very recently, which is Full Stop Office Heathcliff. Now, Full Stop Office are not a particularly special office in the overall scheme of PM and of the city. The reason we got identities of them is because people like Full Stop Office, and I can see it, you know, like, all three of the characters are very likable, as it were. Their weapons are fucking cool, and it's resulted in some truly fantastic IDs, right? My point, though, is that a sniper rifle is not something only that girl from Full Stop Office used. There are more sniper rifles in the city, and all it takes is for one character in this city, one person, doesn't even have to be a particularly high-ranking character or a good fighter or a color or anything like that. Just could be anyone who manages to get their hand on a sniper rifle and one bullet to put a bullet in Dante's clock, and suddenly Limbus Companies, or the Sinner, LCB, is fucked. Truly, irreversibly fucked. That's why we are only like Urban Plague, Urban Nightmare. Because we can be defanged so painfully quickly. And yes, the Sinners are there to protect Dante, and having 12 of them is certainly substantial, you know, with immortality and all that. But all it takes is one ranged combatant who decides they're kind of tired of Dante continuously reviving the Sinners for it to be all over. The only reason we survived the Don Quixote fight was because Sancho blocked the lance. Otherwise, Dad Quixote would have took Dante's fucking head off. I am impressed by your optimism, given the kinds of enemies you've faced thus far. We don't even need to go so far back in time to discuss the incidents with the fixer Siegfried or Big Brother Ricardo I read from your reports. Should the third sinner suddenly seek to attack the manager with her full might, do you truly believe that the rest of you would be enough to protect them? God, Don Quixote would be so sad if that actually happened. No, the flow of this world is that the manager will be preserved, then no such thing may come to pass. That's enough, Hohenheim. Any further divulgence and Faust will open a disciplinary committee to discuss the consequences of your careless words. Not there yet, are we? Very well. Whichever is the case, you do have the potential to become a star of the city threat at some time in the future, but do remember that it would be best if you could avoid that unfortunate designation. And please don't forget that that is only true so long as you have Limbus Company's backing. True, true. But yeah, Hohenheim was about to reveal something that Faust didn't want him to, so that's interesting. The final checkup. A dungeon? Okay, a dungeon. Alright, fine, whatever. Cool, sure. Including those Picatula who... Oh, is this the bit? Is this the bit that we started the Intervallo on, where Hohenheim was like, okay, now fight without Dante's help? And that's the dungeon, essentially, is a sequence of fights against Picatula mimicking the sinners. We were almost done with the regular checkup. Finally, we have a chance for you to overcome an adversity based on what you have learned thus far, and for me to prove my hypothesis. What hypothesis is he talking about? No need to worry, my hypotheses have never been wrong most of the time. 50% of the time, they're correct 100% of the time. And I will faithfully follow my own pure curiosities and instincts as a researcher. Guys, I have a feeling we're not going to like where this goes. Now, do you see this monolith here? Yep, I do. That's a monolith, alright, but... don't you worry, my researchers will be the ones to activate this artifact. Activate the artifact? But why? Not on you. Relax. I understand that none of you would be willing participants to this experiment. I swear, if you're gonna force us to distort saying that we have no right to refuse or something, I'm gonna... Yeah, hang on, I can't let you do that, even as your assistant. Sorry, buddy, that's too far now. Yes, but if you must, we are willing to send the weakest sinner among us for... You know, not Yi Sang. Forget I said that. That was foolish of me to say. Poor Yi Sang. I will be the subject of the experiment myself. Ah, distorted Hohenheim. He's already wearing ego, so where's this gonna go? You're going to distort yourself? Am I hearing you right? Aren't you curious to see what kind of distortion you'd end up becoming? I'm sure this is a question you have all entertained at least once. Oh, I mean, Heathcliff knows. Although, I wonder, because I don't know if we have any basis for this in the past, I can't remember right now, but depending on how you grow and change and the life experiences you have, we've never really hung around with a character long enough to see them change to the point where this could happen, but would your distortion change as well? You know? Like, Heathcliff's distortion came before he resolved Canto 6, right? If he distorted now, would it be different? Maybe? I don't see why it wouldn't be. But he's absolutely right. At the very least, us as the audience have always sat here and been like, what would each of these characters look like if they distorted? I'm definitely curious to see what Hohenheim would be, so I can understand it. No, I ain't curious. It ain't a very pleasant experience either. Because I've done it. Stop gritting your teeth like that, assistant. It will have an adverse effect on your long-term dental health. Yeah, my dentist used to keep shouting at me because I gritted my teeth so much and I've stopped since. I actually snapped the wire on my braces. Yeah, I had braces when I was younger. I snapped the wire on them because I grit my teeth too much. They were not impressed, and the inside of my right cheek is scarred because, you know, the snapped wire just carved the shit out of the inside of my cheek. Wasn't pleasant, but I have straight teeth now. Anyway, what if you just end up turning into a Picatulum? That'd be fucking hilarious. You could end up becoming a Picatulum, just another one of the fodder we slaughtered our way through for the tests earlier. You risking that? It is indeed a possibility. It would signify nothing more than my very own limitations. Translation is, he feels that if he becomes a Picatulum, then he deserves it for being too shit. Just a mediocre shell. If such an incident comes to pass, these employees will transport me to a containment unit. We even made a bet on what kind of Picatulum I would turn into. I'm going for him. I'm thinking either pride, envy, or gloom. He bet on Gulai, I on Invidier, and her on Pigritia. Oh, okay, so sloth. I can't remember what the other two are. Yeah, no, I can't remember what the other two are. Can we please just use the actual sin words? It's so much easier. But how could you... To think about it like this, if I were to become a Picatula, it would be akin to losing at a game of chance. Of course, what counts as a loss may depend on what I, at that precise time, consider to be losing, but the mere fact of turning into a pacatulum reaves me of any value to life. I'd say he was being too hard on himself, but that felt like too simple an expression to describe his tone. The company would most likely attempt to transport me to a containment unit, but I disagree with that decision. I would like to ask you to dispose of me on the spot, which I can understand. I am well aware that I'm not the kind of congenial person who earns others' favor at first meeting, if at all. I also don't believe that our brief relationship has been the most amicable kind. Therefore, I see little reason why you would hesitate to cut me down. And some of the sinners have just stood there like, I'm thinking about doing it right now before you even touch the fucking thing. Of course, sinners with gentle hearts like this young Sinclair here may express certain distaste against this decision. And Sinclair's like, nah, I'd do it. I'd bury this halberd right in your head. But once I become a pacatulum, it may as well mean that Hohenheim, the entity, has ceased to be, so I hope no unnecessary emotions like guilt clouds your judgment in killing the pacatulum, a mere byproduct. Ah. But what if something unexpected happens? We don't like that. We're talking about your life here. Don't you have any manuals with backup plans, or... This is a very simple matter, nothing more than a coin flip. Heads or tails. It appears you are still insisting on your absurd 50-50 theory. I am a researcher who wishes to humiliate the field of mathematical statistics, unlike the general lay of the academia. I like to snack on handfuls of nuts when I'm researching to give my brain energy. I call them academia nuts. Thank you. I believe there is a certain romanticism to research. It is much more exciting to run as many tests and gain as many samples as we can than to be stuck behind a desk poring day and night over books and paper, isn't it? If it's tails, then you may have disposed of me immediately, and the employees here will take care of the rest. Don't forget to destroy the key inside that coat pocket and the files inside my cabinets, for example. Yeah, we remember. If I were to successfully distort, we would be halfway to success. For the first time, I'm feeling quite the envy for you all. I wish I could be a witness to my very own distortion. If you've been paying attention to my lectures, perhaps you could even come up with a classification code for my distortion too. Going by the standards we have discussed earlier, don't count on it. Not that I have a very high expectation that you would. I've recently come to a realization that people nodding along to my words is not a signifier of comprehension, but instead an expression of societal niceties. Yeah, I do it quite a lot. Nods. Then the manager here will open the entrance to my dungeon of the fathoms. Okay, we're doing that as well then. And you will progress through the mirror dungeon, as you have always done when facing a distortion, to reach into its deepest fathoms to face my distortion once again. I wish you the best of luck in your suppression efforts. Hexasection. And once you've made it that far, it is likely that you will find me unconscious, or if luck would have it, conscious. Unconscious? Are you sure this is safe? A degree of case-by-case variance is to be expected. It may take some time for a full recovery, but it will happen, should you succeed. What if we hit him so hard that his face explodes? What then? That reminds me, that's how this bamboo-hatted Kim was brought back as well. Oh yeah, true. Bamboo-hatted Kim? He's recovered? He is safely contained within our facilities. Ah, it seems they're ready to activate the monolith. Oh boy! Ooh, I'm confident that even I, even as a distortion, will be quite the exceptional specimen. He's going to turn into like a giant slug or something, isn't he? Well, hang on, just like that. You're not a pacatulum. Indeed, and I can still hear them. That's a pretty cool design. I appreciate that. Yes, I remember. I still do. I know he'll be back, but gosh, this is pretty unnerving. Don't worry, we'll bring him back no matter what, or we'll kill him, I don't care which. The manager says that we will bring him back no matter what. Sure sounds like a dependable sort, this manager of yours. Very well, please take a look at this. Is this a note? Did he write us tips on how to do this or something? He says that all you have to do is read what's on that note in front of his distortion. Apparently it's some kind of a code. I don't think you'll hear anything but ticking noises from me. Can you read this, Musso? It will be done as you commanded. Musso nodded, then began to read the words from the note aloud. Lobotomy Corporation, 5 minutes, potentiality, anticipation, right hand. The moment Musso uttered them, the all too familiar portal began to appear around Hohenheim's distortion, as though they were a key to a door. Scattering shards of familiar yet alien sights appeared intermittently beyond the shimmering veil. Hohenheim had already entered the portal as we stood there gawking, but we could still hear his voice echoing through the laboratory. I suppose I'll be forced to share my past here, the past I never wanted to share, the past no one cares to learn about. It is something I must endure for the sake of this experiment, however. I needn't expose every little detail of it. It's all in the past now anyway, isn't it? Ah, so he worked at LobCorp. Okay, alright, well, let's see what we can do. Hohenheim's Fathoms. We're at the starting point of the Dungeon of the Fathoms. We found ourselves in a room that appears to be a workshop of ego gears. If you have scored below 100% synchronization rate in the aptitude test, take only a single ego from here. An ominous warning sign greets us all, and the same words repeat ceaselessly from the speaker. The sinners all go take a look, enticed by the sign telling us that we can pick up ego gears here, but what we find there are ego gifts. Oh, these ain't ego gears, these are them gifts or something, right? It appears that ego are manifest here in the shape of ego gifts. Can we just take them all? This is a Dungeon of the Fathoms. As it differs from the usual mirror dungeons, it is highly advisable that its rules are followed. What should we do? Well, we can get a burn ego gift, which we're not using burn. We can take a rupture ego gift, which we're not using rupture, or we can get a keywordless one, which might help. Yep. Take cleaning solution spray. This one seems best suited for the situation we're in. We take the illusory hunt ego gift. That is useful. Yeah. Good stuff. Because if Honglu gets to use his opener, then it will be done with extra damage as well. So 4 hits with like what, 20% damage boost? That's pretty good. I dig that. Alright, Kurakumo team, it's time to do the thing we do. This is the first time we're deploying the full team properly. Properly. Oh right, yeah, I forgot that middle Don Quixote is not the support passive I wanted for this. Doesn't matter really. It was supposed to be normal Don Quixote, but I forgot. We'll use her as a backup then. Our first backup. Now I doubt that these fights in the corridors will be much to write home about, so I'll probably mostly skip them. But this, however, we can have a look at, you know, cutscenes. Hello, lob person. What's going on with them? Good, it appears that I can censor these with my own will, at least to a degree. Your mission here is to classify my distortion, reach the end of this Dungeon of the Fathoms, and bring me back. Your mission, however, does not involve digging into my past. It appears we have a passing familiarity with this place. You, us, what is it they seek to convey? I don't believe any level of proper communication will be feasible, given that you are in a Dungeon of the Fathoms. Well then, do something about it! I regret to tell you that the setting of this dungeon is out of my hands. Had it been up to me, I would have had manifested a place that was much more fascinating than this, like that library fabled to have every book in existence. That would have been interesting indeed. You used to work for Lobotomy Corporation? One of my past careers, yes. Us. Diplomacy did not seem to be an option here. The sense of people brandished their weapons threateningly and stood in our path. Looks like we're going to have to take them down if we want to make any progress here. Can't be helped, let's do it. Gonna fuck them up. Oh, that's such a good remix. Oh, hell yeah. Lads, give me some time to enjoy this. And they're using lantern gear, I'm pretty sure. Yep, because they're doing rupture, just like Lantern Don. On hit, heal 5 HP, 50% chance to inflict bleed. If this unit is targeted by 2+ units, gain those shit, which is really good. Damn, this ego is better than Lantern Don's ego. Getting Clash power up and shit when hit, getting 1 Clash power up and 1 haste. Oh, god damn. Gain 1 fragile for every identity that targeted this unit. If all enemies attack this unit, attack weight +1. Alright, they might actually be kind of tough. Let's see what we can do. Go from Ryoshu. Good start. Nice, okay. It seemed to go well in the first round, although Yi-Sang failed, notably. I like what they've done with the music. Whispers might help us a bit. They're pretty tough, they're pretty strong. I respect it, you know? Not enough to let them live, but I respect it. Off you go. It's pretty fucking cool though, isn't it, lads? I like what they've done with the place. Good job, Yi-sang. Love it. It's a lot of bonuses, but on the other hand, Hong Luo land a cloud cutter with 4 hits and not get hurt and staggered is probably more useful. We'll see if I'm wrong. Yi-sang's gonna get fucking bodied. But Hong Luo did succeed and he's about to kill his target, so that was worth it. Go on, lad. Love him. Two staggers. I think focusing on clash wins is going to be more important than getting passives at the moment. Nice, nice. Kick! I love the kick. Let's do it again. Yeah! Shame we didn't kill him. But that's fine. Nice. Oh, they're going for it. Yeah. Ball him. Beautiful. Very nice. That was a lot cooler than I was expecting, I gotta be honest. I love that remix of that track, which has trauma attached to it for all people who have played Lobotomy Corporation, but it's also a beloved track, and then they were like, cool, but let's turn it into a combat track, shall we? I like it. We come across a group of researchers passionately poring over various documents. They're having a debate about two subjects, emotions and flame. Regular flames don't seem to hurt the abnormalities very much, so why does this work, I wonder? Perhaps a greater degree of wrathful emotions open up the room for the fire's heat to touch abnormalities and distortions, both entities of the unknown. They must have noticed us listening in on their conversation. One of them approaches us with a glint in their eyes. Are you the sample who's agreed to this experiment? If so, try this on. In the researcher's hands was what looked like an ignition plug, or a testing machine of sorts. But we don't need... fuck it. I want to see what it is, though. Who will step forth? We have many lost identities to work with. Go for it. Yeah. Oh, what an interesting reaction. Decent synchronization rate as well. Maybe the researcher liked what they saw. After scribbling their observations into various papers, the researcher let Ryoshu go. Ryoshu took off the gear and presented it before the researcher to return it, but they simply shook their head in response. The gear seems to fit you perfectly. Take it with you. Okay. Reignition plug. And they healed. I wish I'd gotten Hong Luo to do it now. So he could have done with it. Attacks that inflict burn count, which we don't do. Identity, whose all base skill attacks inflict burn potency count or unique burn, which we don't do. That's useless to us. Very good. Alright, moving on. Otis took quite a lot of damage, but she does have the capacity to heal herself, so it might be okay. It might be okay. So how do we know this guy's actually distorted? He doesn't sound any different from his usual self. The sanity degradation due to distortion affects every subject differently. I mean, yeah, but censoring his own fathoms. But Hohenheim, you're in a dungeon of the fathoms. We will see through it with Dante's powers, whether you want to show us or not. You make a fair assessment. How about this then? If you are to see them anyway, allow me to save you the trouble and give you a quick rundown instead. Come visit me as soon as you finish watching my tale. This tale began when that man walked into my laboratory. Yes, I had a personal laboratory all to myself, one of the few perks of being an elite researcher, just like he said. This guy's just telling the story however he wants to, isn't he? L-Corp branch control team? A control team person, perhaps? Maybe. Heim. Mr. Hohenheim. Nice uniform, nerd. Let me think. I don't quite remember what he looked like. Something like this, perhaps? Close enough. Whichever is the case, I was planning to censor his appearance anyway. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something. I don't recognize the ego that guy's wearing. It's purple, but he's in control team, which is Malkuth. They both work for Malkuth. Actually, I say that this might not be the headquarters, so I'm assuming a lot by saying Malkuth. Stop. Are you here to express your displeasure with me? I don't like that. The what now? If you are, do let me know from the get-go. I had a feeling it was about time this would happen. 3 months, not a bad record for working without workplace conflict. Oh, if this is about quitting, then you would find a much better audience among the human resources team. No, I mean, I'm just here to thank you. For picking me, some dude from the backstreets to work here. I heard it was you who made the hiring decision. I don't know how to put this, but you're the only one who saw my What's the word? Yeah, my potentiality. You saw something that no one's cared to look into before, know what I mean? But it had nothing to do with something so grandiose like his potentiality. A wing does not hire people from the backstreets for something so insignificant. While this information has never been made publicly available, Lobotomies Corporation's primary criterion was trauma. Yeah. Candidates with horrible, insurmountable trauma were often favored by the company. And in an indirect way, it was only natural that they would begin to favor candidates who originate from the backstreets. Your greetings are acknowledged, Jimmy. Now feel free to leave my office. I ain't Jimmy. Anyways, I've been meaning to ask, Mr. Hohenheim, why do you always enjoy being alone? It may come as a surprise to you, but I'm very adept at spending my time all on my own. It's one of the hundreds of distinguishing features that set me apart from ordinary men. Okay, look, I prefer to be by myself, you know, I'm very introverted, I value my own company, and I appreciate my solitude and all that jazz, but I've never viewed it as a trait that makes me special or different. It's just this aspect of my being, and I'm not the only one who's like that. There are many people out there like that, and it's always rubbed me the wrong way whenever I see a character who's like, I prefer to keep to myself, it makes me very special and unique, and I'm like, shut up. It's not, it isn't, it doesn't. You adopt it as a personality enhancer to make up for your own perceived deficiency in interesting things about yourself. Spare me. Say, don't you need someone to be like your loyal right-hand man? I could be your go-to guy, I could be Jimmy. My right hand is doing just fine, thank you very much. Do you believe in potentiality, Hohenheim? One unrelentingly stubborn employee he was, even in hindsight. Thanks to you, I do, and I've been thinking, if I keep at it one day, I might even find myself living at large in a nest, changing my world little by little. Kind of like how a thing like me managed to snag a position here at Lobotomy Corporation. It's another classic situation where it's like, hey look, it's the start of a protagonist's fucking story character arc. So how soon does this person die? We've been here before. So I'm thinking here that I want to stick around in your circle. To bring about such drastic changes to one's life is in the realm of feasibility for an exceptional researcher like myself indeed, but you are, like most of the rabble, painfully average in most qualities and therefore unlikely to be the moving force in that change. I have no faith in universal things like potentialities. I have faith in myself and myself alone. Besides, I'm not very partial to mathematical statistics like the probability theory anyway. So I would like to keep both my right and my left hands as my own. Have a nice day. Want to know something about Jesus Christ? You not hearing him? Want to know something about me? I'm the kind of guy who doesn't really think about things. Action before deliberation, you get me? I'm surprised you even know the word deliberation. Thoughtless and carefree, possibly the only merit to be found in those who originate from the backstreets. Or was that a thinly veiled threat of physical assault? No, I'm talking about a new Abner that just got shipped here. It's a tricky one to manage, I'll tell you why. It reads your mind, screwing up all kinds of strategies or whatever, as long as it's based on hard logic. Want to shoot for the Department of the Year award together? You seem to be rather skilled in the art of transactions. This is such a car crash of a conversation. One of the few merits found in those who originate from the backstreets. I will admit, I suppose I was overcome by a certain ennui back then. And in hindsight, it was foolish of me to engage in such inane conversations. You let us down, I'm gonna say. Or you let us die, whichever. The remnants of my past come to haunt us. Perhaps it is I whom they truly wish to hurt. Probably. Wouldn't surprise me. You're kind of an asshole. I like him as a character, but he's kind of an asshole. Alright lads, you know the drill. Bang him out. Good stuff. The Clash Power +2 is always scary. I don't like that they get that. It means you really want to stagger them first turn, and if you don't, things become a lot more problematic. Like they're about to. Best thing we can do is just attempt to stagger someone as soon as possible to create a break in their line. A pretty standard strategy, really. Oh yes. Oh indeed. Sucks to be you. Have some of this. Off you go. I was worried for a minute there that Yi Sang had died, although he is pretty close, admittedly. We'll probably want to throw down a quick pursuance. Although I don't know if we'll even get time. I imagine they'll all die before before Rhoda even gets to do that. Yeah, I think they will. Well, you're doomed. Yep. Beautiful. No pursuance for us. I'll open the next fight with it. We do need some healing. Ring Sang's already taken a lot of fucking damage. It's finally here, the Department of the Year award. Indeed, I have finally done it. Me alone. With some minor assistance from you, of course, and some other employees. Come on, admit it. Don't you notice a lot more employees are saying hello, good morning, and what have you in the hallways compared to when your reputation was a bit, you know. It's all because I'm just that good of a right-hand man. I will admit that your intuitive and spontaneous eye was of some assistance when it came to identifying certain observations among abnormalities. This is the potentiality I was talking about, man. The same thing you saw in me when you decided to get me on board. Apologies for ruining the moment, but the next few years quickly and busily flew by without much trouble. Of course, we picked up ourselves a few more Department of the Year awards, some promotions, and some collaborative researches. Yet all things must come to an end. The infamous fall of the Lobotomy Corporation, for one. It's third warning! You left us. I know it's left, so I don't suppose you have any trouble hazarding what they're all telling me, even as the words come out fragmented. You left us. Yeah, because the moment the Lobotomy Corp fell, he fucking bailed and locked the door behind him, I bet. Nothing but words of endless resentment. You left us behind. I dare say. The fall of the Foreman Corp. I remember what Miss Yuri told us so long ago. The site crumbled in an instant, trapping the employees in there with the abnormalities. It's first warning though, isn't it? What is this sound? The whole structure is quaking. What the hell is this? Initiating site burial in 100 seconds. That's a short amount of time to leave. Any remaining employees must immediately evacuate the structure. Counting down, 95, 94. We started counting while we were warning you, by the way. The escape pods to the surface are here, but there's only one seat left. They're saying that the next one's in 5 minutes. Oh, you totally took the last pod for yourself, I see. Listen closely. At the risk of sounding rather callous, I must inform you that the chance of survival in cases of crisis such as this is usually only granted to a very small minority of those affected. Some who prioritize the fairness of the process may settle on primitive methods such as drawing lots to see who gets to escape, and by the time I finish explaining this, the timer will have run out. And in more barbaric groups, the survivor would be decided by none other than the rule of might. However, I'm glad to find myself among those of you who are on the side of intelligence, so I make this argument a suggestion before you. Compare yourselves, whose sole final purpose in life is clinging to your mediocre office jobs and making good on your debt payments, and me, who has produced several groundbreaking epochal theses and research results at such an early age. Wow, you piece of shit. His first response was, alright, now let me tell you why I'm more valuable than all of you. Bearing in mind they could easily beat him into the floor and just take it for themselves. And it says a lot of positive things about them that they probably let this happen. Whose life, in your eyes, is of greater worth. Yes, and that is how this tale ends. The compound collapsed 90 seconds later. I left the employees of my department behind and boarded the escape pod elevator, and survived. How could you, without even a hint of remorse? Wrath is a hideous emotion. I am here today only because I have always maintained a cold, rational head. See, the problem, really, and I think Ishmael summed up pretty well, is not that he took the opportunity to escape, because, you know, it's hard to judge someone for attempting to survive, but to do it in such a cold, impassionate manner with no hint of appreciation or remorse for the employees he left behind, combined with the fact that he basically used the argument of, I'm better than all of you, so I should be the one who gets to escape. And you know he believes it as well. And he might even be right, but it's not the point. I don't know. The Elcor branch within Hohenheim's Dungeon of the Fathoms begins to crumble. It almost appeared as though his heart was crumbling as well. Well, now that's over with, I invite you to come face me, the Distortion. And the experiment will come to an end. But just finding and defeating his distortion in a fight? I don't think that'll bring him back. I just know it. I agree. We're still in deep waters here. This can't possibly be all there is to it. Nah, there's gonna be some talk no jutsu. We have to convince him that he's kind of a dickhead. Also, there's like a lot more stages left to go, so, you know, we're obviously not done. We see the Ardor Blossom moth within the containment unit. Small crimson particles of flame surround it like an aura. The flaming wings die out one moment only to roar vigorously in the next. An incessant attempt to set fire to everything around it. What a beautiful specimen, this Ardor Blossom moth. Have you finished your observations? We've been learning a lot about the abnormality recently. There's still a lot of unknowns, but still. Speaking of which, here's a pop quiz. What ego gift can you get from the Ardor Blossom moth? Is it the subaquatic blossom? Or the Helterfly stream? On the off chance that this gift actually helps us, I'm gonna pick the right one. Right on the money. You know your Ardor Blossom moth. Yeah, I fought one before. But that's not all. Recently, it's been giving out these things too. Take this with you. I'm just glad to run into a kindred soul. You receive a burning, flickering flame. Seems to have come directly from the Ardor Blossom moth itself. Embers. All enemies with burn get burned, so useless. Okay, cool. I guess potentially if Captain Ishmael makes it onto the field and then activates overheated gas harpoon, maybe then we could start making use of some of these gifts. But even then, I don't think gas harpoon inflicts burn count. I think it just inflicts burn. So we're not even going to get that effect. We just get kind of maybe something from this. But frankly, she doesn't. No, it wouldn't. We'll get nothing. We'll get absolutely nothing. Worthless to us. Oh yes, Picatulum, how quaint. Ooh, this one looks fancy. It's got warnings around it. Ooh, I want warnings, yeah. Big fights, rewards, and stuff. Give it to me. Oh, shit. Well, all right then. But now, using the lessons I have learned, counter will totally fucking offset that fade. See, guys, I do listen and learn. I do, I really do. I listen and I learn. I am always listening and stuff. You know what? I haven't seen this yet, and I'd like to see it. Even though this will make it harder for us to get pursuance, but fuck it. Do what I want. Pitiful! Do the thing! Yeah! Oh! That's super cool! I love that! That's great! And the voice line is fantastic. Alright, so, to be blunt, yeah, it's too big a Picatulum than usual, but neither of them are going to explode. Neither of them are going to, you know, do ego attacks. Neither of them are going to transform. I think we can skip through this, okay? Because it's just another two Picatulum. I've fucking dealt with tons of them. So I'll see you on the other side. Oh, the damage! Ring Sang is fucking disgusting. So strong. I didn't even get a reward for doing that. Why did I do it? Shit. I thought for sure there'd be some kind of tasty ego gift waiting for me if I did that. Bollocks. At the end of the hallway, a group of researchers is having a discussion in front of an unnaturally dark place. Noticing our presence, their faces brighten up as they approach us. Please, will you investigate this area ahead for us? We will accept with the best of our abilities should you help. We will help with the best of our abilities should you accept. Heal all allies, yes please. Oh my god, yes please. Who will accept? You've got it, Hongler. I believe in you. Good shit. I love to see some proper enthusiasm. Yes, I like your attitude. Take this with you. It'll help in your investigations. After handing us the gear, the researchers walked up to the sinners and began examining them. Once they were finished, the sinners were all in tip-top shape again. Back to full HP and regular operational gear. It's a shame our SP is in questionable order, thanks to that stupid Gloom Picatulum, but you know, it's fine. That fight was actually significantly harder than I thought it'd be. Like, credit, I figured it would be a breeze, but they actually gave us a run for our money. Limbus Company Identity. Skill 2 gains offense level 1 and deals plus 15% more damage. Skill 3 gains offense level 2 and deals 30% more damage. If there are 4 plus Limbus Company Identities among the backup units, 2 random allies gain 2... It's all useless to me! Fuck these ego gifts. Illusory Hunt is the only one that's here for me. Let's go fire distortion then, whatever. I'll probably lose. Knowing my luck. Or skill. We arrived at the entrance to Hohenheim's laboratory. This may be my final order to you. Either suppress me and return safe and sound to where you came from, or fail the suppression, place me in a containment unit, and perhaps we can observe what happens next. That's when Heathcliff suddenly strode forward. Heathcliff, Hohenheim's best friend. I think the true reason Hohenheim selected Heathcliff as an assistant is because he saw Jimmy in Heathcliff. They even had similar hair. Hohenheim, do you still believe in that potentiality? He's like, the fuck? I do. It's what keeps me going. You only hire researchers from the back streets, don't you? I heard from them earlier. They told me that you're a right pompous bloke, but thanks to you, they can continue to research and believe that there might be things in the world that's worth working toward. In just 2 sentences, Heathcliff has broken the Hohenheim. Oh, the music's pretty cool though, isn't it? Alright, let's go for it then. Destroyed Hohenheim, undefined. Undefined. Final power +1 for every 5 poise potency on self. That's going to cause some issues, I think. So he does poise and tremor. So we're going to want to try and offset contemplation because we do not want him getting poise. Absolutely not. Apply 1 subjective observation on all enemies. Max stack 30. Turn start, gain 3 stacks starting from the turn after this unit gains this effect. Gain 1 stack every time this unit takes or deals damage with an attack skill effect against destroyed Hohenheim. Take stack times 4% more damage from enemies. Then gain poise potency and count equal to number of units with subjective observation. Apply 1 to targets without a subjective observation. For every 10 stacks on the target, inflicts 1 more tremor potency and count. On turn 3, gains a new pattern and prepares to use a powerful skill. After turn 3 is over, the above effect activates when this unit has 30 plus poise count at turn end. If this unit did not take any HP damage during the preparation period before using the powerful skill, greatly enhance the skill does not count damages taken by shield HP. Gain poise potency every time this unit inflicts damage with attack skill effects, 15 per turn. If the target has 15 plus subjects of observation, gain 1 additional poise potency with every hit. Gain count every time this unit takes damage from enemy attack skills, 15. Okay, shield equal to 30% of missing HP. Shield HP cannot exceed 15% of the unit's max HP. If this unit has burn, lose burn count times 5.15% shield HP. Unit takes 100% more damage from rupture effects. Cool, we're not using either of those. If the shield gained due to this effect is destroyed, for the rest of this encounter, gain 1 defense level down for every instance the shield has been destroyed. Okay, so we can kind of stack that, I suppose. The only good news is on this first turn, we appear to have him dead to rights in terms of clashes, so that's handy. Well, I say that. Maybe not. We're definitely not using a team made for this encounter, but that doesn't mean it will be all there. I think we can make it work. Good stuff. Good stuff, good stuff. A lot of damage. But he's also got a lot of poise, so that's a concern, you know. It's going fine so far, though, and we've done quite a lot of damage and lowered his SP. Go on, Yi-Sang. Nice. Now he's got shield HP and 2 uses of contemplation. Okay. He's got sinking, bleeds. We could get something from sanguine pointillism. Not as much as we could, but it might be worth just going for it. Yi-Sang doesn't have any tremor counts, so he's safe to hit conduct analysis, although it does have attack weight, so that's a thing. It'll be alright though, none of us have tremor count right now, so we should be okay. We'll see. We will see. Sky clearing cut, I do believe so. Her SP's not particularly high, but if she gets heads, she's got it, basically. That almost got rid of his shield right there. Yee-hee. Ah, counters came into play. That's fun. Helpful. Now he's got permanent defense level lowered. So that's helpful.
Good.
Nice, good job. Not a lot of damage, but it's a win. And we lost a bunch of SP. Why'd we do that? Confirmation bias. Turn end. Siphon 10 SP from targets of higher SP than this unit. Max 3 in descending order of SP. Cannot stack on the same target. Does not activate if Hohenheim is panics. I don't think we're going to panic him. So now he's defending himself because he's preparing for his big moment. I can only hope this will be sufficient. Are we going to do enough damage? He's got 135 shield HP. That's quite a lot. It's not looking great, but let's see what we can do. I fear we won't do enough damage. And I'm almost wondering if, I think offsetting is the way to go here. I'm just wondering if that's the case. We might do just enough damage. I'm a little nervous, actually. We'll see. Wow, I really needed that to be heads across the board, you know. That's not good. His attack's going to be a lot more powerful now. Trigger extinction sequence. Okay, that's worrying. Consume half a poise potency and count on self. Gain some final power. Oh boy. Clash lose reduce remaining poise count by half. So a lot more damage and final power with the poise. If user took no HP damage last turn, guarantees a crit. If user took HP damage last turn, does not crit, instead deal 80% less damage. Trigger Tremor Burst thrice, then reduce target's Tremor count by 3. Though we don't have Tremor counts, so Tremor Burst won't do much. Alright, well, let's see what happens then. Fuck it. It's fine. No concerns. Wasn't even worried. It's the voice of a man who wasn't concerned. Absolutely fine. Decent amount of damage as well. And Tremor Burst. Also this. We're fine. Probably. We'll break through the shield and do some damage. There we go. What plagues your mind, manager? Your suppression efforts seem to be smooth sailing. It is exactly as you've seen, manager, save for a few parts that were censored. I concealed nothing from your view. I don't believe I've committed any wrong by escaping that place alone, leaving the others to be buried there. Is that so? Of course, it may be reprehensible from a moral standpoint, but why would anyone ever look at it from that perspective, manager? Especially when you are well aware that in the city, such a perspective is entirely irrelevant and worthless. I can feel his gaze on me. Like he said, the suppression is going well, but this feels wrong, that it shouldn't end like this. What should I tell him? What is Hohenheim trying to hide from us? Ooh, interesting. He's absolutely crippling our SP with confirmation bias, so I think I want to go with that. There's another side to that story you've told me. Faust relayed my words to Hohenheim, as if to twist the knife further. Another side to my story, is it? Indeed, that is quite feasible. You are correct. That another side is what oft gets lost in the process of obsessing over specious concepts like the fathoms and the heart. Speaking from a consequential point of view, perspective provided by one's memory is narrow by nature. Even in the fathoms, the deepest part of one's heart, where many believe lies nothing, the empirical, absolute truth, we are still capable of lying. Fascinating, isn't it? They call it metacognitive error. Some call it unconscious bias as well. I see, you argue that the story I have shown you was simply a fabrication. Indeed, I have not shared any perspectives from my employees, but there is no way by which we may verify them anyway. Isn't it obvious why that is? They're all buried underground, reaved even of their final words. I could finally understand, at least to a degree, what Virgilius and Don Quixote have been telling me. Though there was nothing to call a human face remaining in his distorted form, I think I caught a glimpse of loneliness from Hohenheim's expression. Confirmation bias weakens, becoming self-doubt. Good. What did that do? Replaces confirmation bias. Lose 15 SP. Siphon 5 SP from targets of higher SP. So he still siphons, but not as much, and he's also losing SP actively. So that's useful. Glad for that. He's still quite tough, though, isn't he? Look at this. Let's give it a go. Go on, lads. Yeah. No. No. Yeesh. I forgot about criticals. I didn't take critical into consideration when factoring damage calculations. Oh god. That was a lot of damage. Eee. Okay, could have gone worse, frankly. And now he's charging up for a big one. Okay, well I doubt we're gonna break his shield, but let's give it a try anyway. Could have done with more damage, Greg. Really could have. I reckon Ring Sang will do the job. Yeah, good lad, well done. If we can land Bygone Days, though, it's not a brilliant clasher, but if it succeeds, It'll keep our SP topped up, and Otis really needs it.
배는 맛은 있는 편이 좋은데.
Yeah, we're fine. Good stuff.
저택을 안내해주지.
Good, good. Yep, that was a stagger. Broke his shield. That's helpful. It seems there is something else you would like to tell me. Very well, you may go ahead and ask. I'm prepared to answer any of your questions. Can we debuff you again? I'd really appreciate that. I can feel Hohenheim's gaze lingering on me. What should I say this time? What is Hohenheim trying to hide from us? I think weakening the shield will help to A, lower the amount of damage he does to us on his big special, and B, increase the amount of damage we do to him. Maybe the poise passive is actually the one I should be focusing on, but I'm going to go with this. You're running away from something. Faust relayed my words to Hohenheim. Running away, an interesting point, but allow me to retort. My choice was not to run away. To deny and evade what has happened is too pathological a choice, isn't it? I am very well aware that the only way to solve a problem is to face it head on, which is another aspect of myself that sets me apart from the common man, indeed. When an issue arises, or in very rare cases where I define myself in a tumult of emotional nature, I first attempt to establish a logical explanation. I reconstruct what was perceived and regulate my emotions. Expressing fury and anger is a plain waste of resources. But I must admit one thing, now that I have conducted some level of cold introspection. I will admit that it certainly wasn't entirely mature of me to censor so much of my fathoms. Of course, this does not mean I will now remove the sense of memories. My ego is not so feeble as to be shaken by a few words. I didn't really understand most of what Hohenheim was talking about, but I can't shake this thought that everything he's been saying was just an effort to distance himself from his own emotions. Inadequate defense mechanism. Yeah, what does that do? Gain shield equal to 15% of missing HP. As opposed to 30. Shield HP cannot exceed 5% of max HP. And he gains 2 defense level down for every instance the shield has been destroyed. But his defense down is already at 10, so that won't have any effect. But less shield is good for us, certainly. Otis does kind of need to make a clash. But her SP is low. And she doesn't have enough blood-tinged scissor blades, and she hasn't consumed enough blood, and she needs a clash win, though. She's also going to take a lot of hits, because she's just being targeted, and there's not a lot we can do. That is a concern. I think this is a key moment where we really need him to be slower. Because we're going to take a shit ton of damage if we take some of those hits. Hopefully we can do this. Hopefully Otis will win her clash and then she can start building herself up again a bit. Oh, close. Scary, but she did it. Shield broken. Good stuff. Get fucked. I kicked you, making me the victor.
환상의 세계로 들어가 보죠.
Oh, some good damage. Oh, some good damage. Oh, he didn't like that. His SP is shit. Now he's doing this again. I'm gonna let Otis attack this time because she needs to get her blood feast up. She needs to, actually what she needs to do is she needs to consume her blood feast. Or she's not gonna get anywhere. Her blood tinged scissor blades will never go where they need to go. Yeah, it's gotta be done. Until we can get that stuff up, she's gonna be a bit of a liability, so we need to work on this.
Good.
We're not gonna break his shield, I don't think. Oh, we did! Oh, we totally did. Get wrecked. Okay. He's got a lot of poise, though. I like to think he's like, shut up, stop looking at me and fight. Use the weaker attacks. Because this is a free opportunity to use them. Ooh. Okay. Foreman's tugging at his collar like.
여기구나.
I still haven't uptied this fucking or thread spun that ego attack. I really should. That's a fair bit of damage. Broke his shield again though. I feel as though I've given you quite a few replies, but there is simply so much curiosity in your ticking noises. Perhaps you have some aptitude to be a researcher as well, aside from that of a manager. Yet not all answers can be answered. This will be the last answer I provide you. I can feel his gaze on me. Let's ask him the final question. What if you do feel like what you did was wrong? Faust relayed my words to Hohenheim. I see how you may have arrived at that conclusion, but you are incorrect. I have already done much contemplation regarding that matter and have definitively concluded a long time ago that I have indeed done no wrong. Well, I'm of the impression it's not necessarily him taking the escape thing was wrong. It's how he went about justifying it was wrong, in my opinion. I don't know. Let me say this in advance that I am a rare breed of researcher who detests the study of probabilities and statistics. I, Hohenheim, am not the kind to make irrational suggestions such as drawing lots to see who gets to survive. I'm not the kind to partake in barbaric contests of strength to survive either, because I'd lose. Indeed, there was no other recourse. My only option was to come up with an argument that was ultimately vain before the urge to survive, arguing for my survival on the grounds that I was the most useful one out of all of us. However, they all made a rather objective decision for me. They overcame their base desires for mere survival and made a forward-thinking decision for the future. I think they made a decision because they cared about you. But you refuse to believe that. So, no, I have no reason to believe that what I did was wrong. It shouldn't be wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. This wasn't a sin. Even as Hohenheim defended himself, it seemed as though some sense of responsibility was pulling him down. Especially those last words, I could barely sense his usual air of confidence. Maladaptation. Yes. Ah, so this is how we can reduce subjective observation. Okay. Which is useful because we're taking, like, a lot more damage now because of this. How much do we need for pursuance? One more sloth, so we need to get that lenticular rend out. Which is going to be difficult. If she gets staggered next turn, then there's no point getting the sloth to get her to use pursuance because she wouldn't be able to fucking do it anyway. We can delay it, we can delay it. It'll be fine. It's fine. Yes. Now beat he ass. If we could land a stagger soon, that'd be very nice. Very soon. Very soon. There it is. And now we can get the sloth needed. Yeah. He's got a lot of negative effects. It'd be a real shame if someone hit him with sanguine pointillism, wouldn't it? We're gonna absolutely lean in on him this turn. This is gonna hurt like a motherfucker. Go for it. Oh, that's a lot of damage. Yeah. Nice. Might even end it here. I think we might. There it is. Yeah, Kurakumo's pretty good. To be fair, backed up by Ring, Sang, and Barbarotis, yeah. But yeah, Kurakumo's pretty good. The escape pods to the surface are here, but there's only one seat left. They're saying that the next one's in 5 minutes. And then Jimmy's gonna be like, look, I'm the right-hand man. You're the main squeeze, you gotta go. And he's gonna be like, oh, but I guess. Look. Oh, look, his face. Look, I don't actually believe you hired me because you saw my potential or something like that. But I want to believe that you found the hope and potentialities because of me. A hope and anticipation that we can make things better as long as we keep at it. I can't leave you all behind. I can't just save my skin without everyone. This is what a right-hand man does, isn't it? Take my potentiality you found and rise. Take it with you to the surface. For you, Joanne, what about you? Well, maybe next time. Some other time. Johan's a fucking legend. Wrath is a hideous emotion. That is why I did nothing at the entrance of that branch. Only remembering, nothing more. Remembering the ones I've left behind. I can sense the dungeon of the Fathoms slowly beginning to close. Sometime later. That's a pretty cool fight. Appropriate level of difficult, I suppose. Although I guess if I can beat it with, you know, if my 4 Kurikumo identities can like square up to it, then like a modern team would have absolutely crushed it. You know, like Purple Team or Blade Lineage or something like that would have absolutely decimated that fight, no question. And a Burn or Rupture team would have absolutely crushed it for sure. But still, cool fight. I liked it. I've returned safe and sound. I know you were all worried. I know. Still your beating hearts. I am fine. And everyone's like, yay, good. Welcome back, boss. To be frank, I once wished to be someone like yourself, Heathcliff. What are you talking about? We don't want Heathcliff to be like Heathcliff. Because it's not easy to put my faith not in games of numbers, but in those slimmest potentialities of the world and continue to exist. I know it's not very befitting a researcher to be so, but it is quite the romantic attitude for a human to embody, is it not? Well, the experiment is over. It was a huge success, all thanks to us, right? No, it was a failure. I had established this hypothesis that the sole answer was to hold a firm belief in the self and nothing else. Had my hypothesis been correct, I would have remained a distortion. Thus, I would like to extend my gratitude to all of you for making me fail. Thank fuck for that. Never been so glad to be wrong. Ugh. It seems that the classification for my distortion was HE5SU. Disappointingly mediocre, but I don't suppose it can be helped. The world is a place where we must find the ray of potentiality among the mediocre, after all. Let us move on now. Mephistopheles is prepared to depart. Fuck you, Hohenheim. I'm gone. Hohenheim's researchers waved at us. We'll meet again, right? Ew, no thank you. Everything has an end, so do consider this to be our final meeting. Down to the last exchange, this guy. The last thing we saw before the portal activated were the LCE researchers pushing up their glasses in our general direction. You pompous motherfuckers, I love you all. Though I'd only taken a step or two, the entire world around us seemed to transform, landing us back inside the transportation instrument. Now that I think about it, we didn't even get to learn why Gregor's bones made those cracking noises. We learned nothing! All we learned from this experience is that the sinners have all become mediocre, but they each held certain potentialities within themselves. Is potentialities a word? I'm gonna Google it. I'm pretty sure it isn't. Oh my god, it is a word. I thought the joke was that the dude was from the backstreet and was making up words. No, that's a real word. Okay, I'm sure you guys all knew that. I didn't. I thought that was the joke. I thought the joke was to make up a word that had an implied meaning, but it's not a real word. And that's why Hohenheim would originally reject it so much, because he'd be like, it's not even a fucking word. And that's why he's ignoring it. No, that's a real word. All right, well, that's on me. For all of my knowledge of vocabulary, there's still words I don't know. Always more to learn, ain't that right? That's fun. That's how it should have ended. I'm glad for that. Each of us mulling over the events of the LCE, we returned to the bus where Charon and Virgilius were waiting for us. Did I do it? Did I succeed at the checkup? Did I do it?
걸작을 자아냈나. 마에스트로님이 어떤 평가를 내려주실지 흥분이 가시지 않는구려.
It was quite a piece, Yi-sang. Well done. I think that proves, though, that Ring-sang was doing a lot of the heavy lifting, though, if he got the overall highest amount of damage. But, you know, Kurikumo performed well, and I'm happy for it. Can I do hard mode? Is there a hard mode? I'd like a hard mode. But I guess what they're doing now is that they're, like, adding hard modes to Intervalos, and when they're doing that, they're also adding voice acting, so that you can, you know, go back through it and actually hear how it was supposed to sound, which I bet this one will be quite entertaining. I guess I'm going to be doing the final checkup a lot in between mirror dungeons because, oh boy, I have a lot of rewards I need to get, including that, especially that. But in preparation for the release of the Kurikumo clan identities, I'm going to need these. Yes, I'm going to need these. Now, I only actually need 17 at the moment. I can't even get that. But I'm going to need these. Yes, I am. So, from what I've been told, when the Kurikumo IDs come out, I believe... I might be remembering this wrong. I believe Heathcliff will be an event reward bought with currency, and I believe Ishmael will be an extraction. So, in terms of extractions, I only need to get one identity and I'll be good to go. But we all know that when you want to get one identity, it never fucking happens. So... yeah, we'll see how that goes. Here's what I'm going to do though, friends. Let me know what you think about this because input will be valuable. My current plan is that I'm not going to do another run through of Yield My Flesh to Claim Their Bones Intervallo on camera because I didn't do it for Miracle in Districts, whatever the fuck, 20. Because it is basically the same story beats and there's only so much to react to, really. I know everything that happens, right? So there's not much point in doing that. What I'm gonna do, as soon as that Intervallo hard mode is redone, as soon as hard mode is added, I'm gonna do that off camera and get all of the rewards, you know, get all of the sheaths and all that. Then we're gonna do a video where I will buy Heathcliff from the event rewards section, you know, from the rewards I get. Then we'll attempt to extract Ishmael. And then, I don't know, a mirror dungeon, I suppose? I suppose we've got to do the upties as well, but I'd like to have an opportunity to play with the IDs and actually see what they're like, so I guess a mirror dungeon would be the way to do that. Don't worry about it, I do all of this off the seat of my pants. Let me sweat the details. You just sit there and allow me to thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to our members and patrons: Crescent, Tony the Horse, Cryolytic, Liar the Hagsai, Abyssal Angie, Saga, Jack, the Elf Lord, Jordan Rothberg, Ninja Dog, Ember Fox, Grand Captain General Peace, Me Babby Back Turtle, Malignant Humor, Cuds, Kana Samaria, Poe, Paul Triple Brack, Lifesteal, Mega Mr. Z-Man, Unclever Names, Summercat, Flanny, Painter Dragoon, Lip Potatoes, Proxy, Caminero, Moa, Heartland, Harriet J, Dresso, Sion Distance, Lol, Etherbin, Linky, Zeon Cedar, Bimbort, Alkia, Honeydew, Sweet Baby Red, Jessica T, Plutonium Pie, Dreamer Ghost, Love Lullaby, K-Bub, Magic Owl, The Frostbite, Monsoon, SCP-106A, Namad, and Kenny T800 for supporting me on YouTube and Patreon. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you all so much for watching. I actually wouldn't care if the two new identities were hopelessly mediocre. I don't think they will be, to be blunt. I think, you know, they're modern IDs, and everyone's aware that Kurikumo needs a bit of a boost. So I reckon one of them will be like the Kurikumo equivalent of Kim So, and he will give them a massive power boost, and then the other one will just play into the mechanics a lot. But my point is that I wouldn't care if they were mediocre. I wouldn't mind if even after this update Kurikumo was still mediocre. I just love being able to field a full Kurikumo team. That will make me happy. That's really all I want. But having said that, considering chances are they are going to be really strong, I'm pretty fucking excited to see what they do. And to see how strong these identities can be. Because the team seems to lean into Bleed, but not very much. So I assume we are going to be leaning into Bleed. I assume the team does lean into Lust, so I assume we're going to be leaning into Lust even further. I don't know, but I'm pretty excited. I'm looking forward to it. And whatever happens next time, I hope I see you there. Toodles. Goodbye.